Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to let you get a look inside my mind on how I'm able to win games consistently when playing Zero Build. And if you apply everything I talk about, you will not only win more games, but notice an improvement that will translate into ranked games and even tournaments. Before we jump straight into the video, I want to thank Charky Gaming for leaving a positive comment. I read every single comment, so if you want to be featured in my next video, comment something down below. Let's see if we can break 1,000 likes on this video. It's only been done once here on this channel, so it will mean the world to me if we could do it again. So to jump straight into the video, I'm going to cover a game which I won with a good amount of eliminations, and I will break down every fight and moment that led to me dominating this game. I will break this down in 3 parts: early game, mid game, and late game. Jumping into the early game, I am landing at the center of the map, not just to play aggressive, but because it puts me in the position to pull future zones. But yes, I want you to learn to play aggressive, because I could sit here and tell you to land at the edge of the map and camp out till the end, but I don't want you to just win. I want you to get better at winning every fight that you get into, and I promise I'll help you do that. So as I land here at Ruined Reels, there's a couple of people landing here. So obviously the first thing I'm doing is looking for a gun, but I also don't want to 50-50 anybody nearby, so I make sure to land somewhere where nobody else is trying to land. So I'm able to get this chest in this roof, and out of that chest I got an AR, which immediately signals in my brain that I can now look at everybody who is still landing or catch somebody in the open looting around. You have an AR off spawn, you want to try and pick up a quick kill because it is the easiest time to get a kill as everybody's weak. I wasn't able to kill that player that got in the car, so I just let him go. I did spot this one player smacking the speaker, which was not a real player. So I was able to easily eliminate him. Now that I don't see any more opportunities to kill anybody in the open, I need to loot quick. So I drop down, and my priority is to get some shields. And there's a vending machine here, and a lot of those vending machines spawn around the map, so this could be useful anywhere that you land. Buy a bunch of big pots, get full health, was able to get shockwaves. And here I pull off something that I all want you to learn that a lot of people apparently still don't know is a thing. I spot this guy sitting in a car, and I want to go for what I call the pickaxe car play. I try to do it here with the first shockwave, but I messed it up. But here with the second shockwave, you see as I'm jumping in the air, I continuously swing my pickaxe. And I want to hold down the swing animation all the way till I get into the car, point at the driver's seat, and I will start pickaxing the player driving. And just like I said, a lot of people are clueless, just like this guy was, so I was able to easily pick up that elimination. Now we're still in the early game, which means I'm definitely healthier than a lot of people around. After getting a shotgun and having an AR, I have everything that I need to make it into the mid game. And then I pick up this car, which is a crucial part to having successful solo games. Having a car is like having a bunker on wheels without having to take an inventory slot. And it's also mobility, so really you're getting a 2-in-1. You'll see later in the video that I'm able to utilize vehicles for not just moving around the map fast, but also using it as cover. Then I decide to go back to the POI I landed at, because I know not all of it is looted, and I also heard some shots there, which gives me the signal to third party. So I pull up to this guy. Notice how I take this fight. As I'm trying to fight him, I spot him right there, and I hug this concrete on my left, giving me a right peek advantage, and he also doesn't have the best cover there, and I was able to crack him immediately. However, I hear a glider behind me gliding in, which means I need to finish this fight fast. So I rush the player head on, use the slide mechanic to diminish the amount of damage I'll take from this fight, and then just make sure I track him and hit my shotgun shots. Now here my AR ammo and shotgun ammo needs to be reloaded. When this player lands straight on my head, instead of trying to fight him, I immediately shockwave out to try and analyze and reload my shotgun. As I reload my shotgun right here behind this wall, I notice that this player is playing very aggressive, and I'm not going to have time to reload my gun. So I decide to utilize my shockwave yet again. This time I shockwave myself onto the building, and I know he's going to play overly aggressive. So even though I don't have a full clip, I pull out my AR and wait for him to play aggressive, and just like that, he starts grappling. And because he's right in front of me and I'm able to take those free shots, I crack him, and once he's on me, it's only going to take a little more to finish him. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you utilize your early game. And honestly, to me, the early game is the hardest part, because that is when you have to use your fighting skill the most, because you're not always going to have the loot that you would like to have. So moving on to the mid game, my goal here is to get forecast tower so I can see the future zones, which is obviously a clear advantage to knowing where I need to be specifically for the late game. You can afford to rotate pretty late and stay on the edge of the storm during the mid game. In the end game, having forecast really helps you know where you need to position, as you will see later on in this game. Now as I go to get this forecast tower, I'm able to pick up a couple eliminations, but they're mostly just AIs. But here's when we approach our first real player. He was just standing on the train track in the middle of the open. Notice how I utilize this tree, because there's also a third party to my right as I'm shooting him and getting the first shot. If you are able to take the first shot without them being able to see you, win those fights 90% of the time, as long as you connect your shots. You can't really see it, but as I'm shooting, I'm kind of crouching up and down, moving left and right to make myself a little bit more difficult to hit. So definitely something to get good at. Then I turned to my right to look at the third party, and turns out it was just a bot. So obviously I had no problems eliminating them. Now I have a decent loadout, but it can do a little better. So instead of trying to go for fights here, I actually pause here for a minute, take my time to try and get my desirable loot. After a little bit of looting, I'm able to get my perfect loadout, rotating in this car. And I'm not just brainlessly rotating. I am looking to third party as I'm doing that because I know I have all the loot necessary to win. Speaking of loot, the loot I have is just one of the many great combinations to have in your inventory. But what's important is to have mobility and the sniper. And on top of that, if you have a car and the sniper, the damage that you can do is incredible because you can look to deal damage with the sniper from afar, then hop back in your car, get closer, and finish that fire very easily. So here I see on the map that there's a player with a medallion still probably playing the vault according to my calculations at looking at the map. So I park my car and now I'm rushing into this vault to try and catch him off guard and try and take this medallion. As I'm stumping the yard, I know this player hears me, so I know he's going to be ready for me. So this is why I decide to play very carefully and I go for a play. As I'm going down to the basement, I'm checking all the corners, making sure he's not camping anything, and I assume that he's somewhere around the area of the vault. Here as I jump out, I make a prediction that he's very likely right peeking that arc right there. So I run back to the door because I don't want him to take an easy shot on me. As I'm sitting behind this door, I am thinking of a plan and seeing if he's gonna do anything or if he's just gonna sit there. But as I'm sitting here, I'm seeing that this player is not very aggressive and he wants me to make the mistake. So I make him believe that I'm going to make this mistake. I know exactly where he's at. So I'm going to run straight at him knowing that he's gonna have his shotgun out. So I know he's probably waiting for me to get closer, which is exactly when I slide. Notice how I slide exactly at the time that he shoots his gun because I predicted exactly what he's going to do. And here I'm easily able to take my shotgun shots, and the drum shotgun is honestly just better. And just like that, we picked up a medallion, which is obviously very useful to have for that infinite half shield. Loot up the vault, get back into my car, start rotating to the next medallion. The reason that I rotate towards medallions is because we were always gonna know exactly where they're at, which makes them the easier target. But if you're a medallion that has a car like myself, I don't think anybody's gonna want to deal with me, which is another reason to have a car. Here I spot the medallion right on that hill, and I got out the car and I thought the car was going to stop and I was going to use it as cover. And since I'm in the open, instead of trying to take shots, I'm bobbing and weaving, shockwaving closer to him to give him less angle as I'm hugging this mountain. And here's where I use my skill to my advantage. A shockwave onto him, bounce right over his head, forcing him to have to track me. And while I was in the air, I was able to take that first shot, and I'm dealing a lot of damage with the shotgun. Now I'm not too far from being cracked myself, and notice how here, to avoid taking as much damage because I know there's likely a third party looking to come in, I immediately take cover to the rock. And here I know that he's only one shot away from dying, and I re-peek and get the job finished. What I did in that fight was make myself very difficult to hit. I pick up the other medallion. Now I have two of them, which is another power move, and I drop my shockwaves for the grappler because that gives me infinite mobility, and I'm looking for my next target. There's only 5 players left, so I know I can take these fights pretty freely. I go straight back to my car and use it to rotate to this player that I just sniped and dealt a lot of damage to. Exactly what I talked about earlier. Having that advantage in the fight, dealing damage from afar, and then moving closer to the fight. Now I'm playing very careful because I'm not too sure where he's at. He could be repositioned in the bush. That's why I checked that bush. So I decide to take my time and honestly just disengage until I figure out exactly where he's at. See on the map that there's a medallion right near me, so I'm still looking to find this player. So I spot him just kind of running after me, and then I get out the car and he steals my car. The first thing I do is shoot out the tires. Very important. When you're trying to shoot someone in the car, the first thing you should do is shoot out their tires so they can't drive far away from you. He gets out the car because I dealt so much damage to it, and here's where the chase begins. I catch him in the open as he's trying to grapple up to the high ground, which honestly tells me this guy is not that bad. But I'm able to deal some damage here, which gives me the upper hand. So I chase him down with a grapple, and as I'm falling down, I'm taking some shots, making it very hard for him to track me. Here, he does the unthinkable. As I drop on him, he hits me with his grapple blade and launches me off the tower, but I'm able to catch myself with my grapple hook. So now I know this player is going to play really weird, trying to get me to die to fall damage. So I just chop him down. I make sure to reload my gun because when he does come down, I do need to have ammo to shoot him. And as I chop him down, he grabs the grapple and continues to run away. The chase continues. As he's running, I'm gonna grapple onto him. Here he gets into the storm, so I know he has to get out. So I position myself on high ground, see him behind the rock, and easily hit some good shots. Pick up the 2 medallions that he had, and I'm pretty sure I now have 4 or 5 medallions in my inventory. As I'm rotating into the zone, there's only 3 other players remaining, and I'm looking for any whites that I can find. And that is when I find these barrels, but I also hear a third party, which gives me an opportunity to try and take some shots. And as I'm looking for these players, I notice a fight has just finished. I'm going with the assumption that the player I'm about to fight is going to be fairly weak. I'm looking for the player, can't seem to spot him until he shows up to me, and he's playing very aggressive on me, which immediately tells me that this player is healthy. He's sitting on the other side of that door, and we're both thinking the same thing. He slides on the other side of that wall and goes for a right peek. I can already tell this is a very decent player, and here's how you fight a player like this. Try to gather as much information as to what I think he's going to do. He tells me exactly what he wants to do by making this play. He wants to hit a snipe on me, just like I want to hit a snipe on him. But the problem is, he is hard scoping. So what I do is go for a nasty quick scope. The more important thing about this play was my movement. Go for the quick scope, and I connect. As soon as I connect, I don't just brainlessly stand there. I try to get away as fast as I can from the angle that he's aiming into and pop right back out because he already shot his bullet. I completely caught him off guard. Just like that, all I have to do is chase him down. Tries to run away, but I know exactly where that leads to. I know I have the health advantage, and when you have a health advantage like this, all you have to do is keep applying pressure. I find him, and it was just a really easy pickup. There's only 1 player remaining. This is exactly where we talk about those late game rotates with having the forecast. I get to the side of forecast that leads me closer to the next circle that I see on my map, and here I do it again. I get to the closest end that gives me also the best cover, and now all I simply have to do is wait for this player to come to me. Keep on rotating because zone is now finally moving, and I make sure that I get behind cover to the rock towards where zone is pulling, and again still waiting for him to come. And here I spot him on the rock on the other side where apparently he's been hiding the whole time, and in this case all I have to do is just hit my shots, which is exactly what I do, and I keep putting pressure on him because there's nothing he can do but run towards me. Hit him with another crazy shot, and here is just a simple pickup. I know exactly where he has to rotate. Just like that, I'm able to win the game. I spent a lot of time making this video, so if you enjoyed this kind of content, please consider subscribing. I post competitive Fortnite content every single week, and I'll have another video out, guys, for you in the next couple of days. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.